This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to myself or the secretary. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave. The applicant and the town board will be contacted about tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of any decision can sign the sheet at the front of the room. Those wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after the application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will have a maximum of 10 minutes to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. I will then ask for staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes for a rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone at the front of the room, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located. Tonight's hearing will be videotaped, and the tapes will become part of the record. Comments that are based on rumors, hearsay, or secondhand information, as well as racial or other prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now I'll introduce the rest of the board. To my left are Fred Gellerup, Bob Maloney, Jim Warwick, and George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. Mark Schumacher is seated to my right. First variance to be considered tonight, Chris N. and Corrine J. Jorgensen have made an application for variance in accordance with section 54-92 of the Waushara County Utilities Code to create two parcels of land less than 15 acres that can only be served by a holding tank in the CG General Commercial Zone. Location: an approximate 65 feet by 264 feet parcel of land located in the northeast one quarter of the southwest one quarter, section 25, town of Poisippi, N3075, County Road XX. Would you come forward, Chris? Just state your name for the record, please.
Jorgensen.
Okay, Chris. Anything further to add at this time, or?
No, I think what I applied for is all self-explanatory. I guess I had to because to waive a soil test, and it's never going to be a lot for a house or anything. As you guys know, it's a parking lot. I just want to separate it because someday when I sell the bar, I want to keep that storage unit as my own.
Okay. Just a few general questions then for the record. Basically, you've got a commercial storage building on the north and a parking lot to the south, and you just want to make two lots of it.
Right.
And according to the survey, one lot will be about 0.2 acres and the other about 0.7 acres. Is that correct?
Close.
Okay. Any plans to change anything on either side or anything at this time? Okay. And there'll be no septic installed on either lot, so.
And if I had a sign off on it that it would never happen, I mean, that would be all well and good because it'll never happen.
Now, you've got a fire number there now. That's for the storage building?
No, they put the fire number there for that whole lot. I assume
Is that the fire number for the tavern?
No.
That's for the whole lot.
Right, that's for the lot across the road there.
Okay.
I don't know why they put it there. What was the purpose of?
Yeah, we saw it. It's on the south driveway.
Right. The county came by and put the stake in one day, and
Okay.
that's where it ended up. And well, they must know what they're doing.
Maybe not always.
Yeah.
But there is a fire number on that site.
Right.
Okay, good.
Okay. Any other committee questions? Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
No correspondence, but we did get a phone call from the town chairman. He indicated, Larry Albright called and said that the town board met on the 12th of April, and the township has no objections to granting a variance to Chris Jorgensen to split the lot. And no other correspondence, no one else registered in favor or in opposition.
Staff comments?
For the record, the board's previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other application that will be considered tonight. The applicant, not the board, is the one that has to prove that the zoning code is unnecessarily burdensome. There's unique physical features on the property, and an approval would not harm the public or the neighbors. We did issue a permit for the commercial storage building last fall on the north portion of this lot. The premise behind the zoning code is that with Waushara County that's blessed with so much well-drained sands, we really felt a long time ago that it was a disservice to create parcels for residential development that could only be served by holding tanks when we've got so many good lots that could have a conventional septic system. So way back when, I can't remember, 15, 20 years ago, we passed our code that says you can't create lots that can only be served by holding tanks. The intent was to limit residential development. And as the case with most laws, at least some of them, they work very well, but there's always a few that you can't fit the round peg in the square hole, and this happens to be one of them. And that's why we felt a variance might be a good possibility to be considered by the board. If you have any questions about the lot sizes, there are no minimum lot sizes in the general commercial zone. The only requirement is that the lot be at least 50 feet wide, so there's no problem with creating a 0.2 of an acre parcel. When the board visited the property, they noted there is an existing fire number. There are existing driveways. Visibility is good. It would appear that the use of the lots would not be changing. They did note that this is a unique situation in that both properties are currently zoned commercial. Commercial zoning would not allow the construction of a residence. So even if for some reason these lots would want to be developed residentially, it would require going through another public hearing. And we'd have a whole nother opportunity to discuss things like septic systems. So I think there is another protection in here to if a variance would be granted. So I really don't have any other comments or concerns about the application. I think it is unique enough that it certainly would be worth the board considering the granting of the variance. So those would be my comments.
Okay, next variance to be considered, Arlene Donnelly, Iowa City, Iowa. Elmer O. and Ruth Hanson landowners have made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 2, and 58-823, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct two 10 by 22 decks and interior remodeling exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming structure, non-conforming due to side lot setback on a non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width at the building site and the lake in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot 1, Block 1 of Lake Pearl Resort Plat, and part of the adjacent lot being part of the southeast 1/4, the southwest 1/4, Section 30, Town of Leon, Pearl Lake W 4672 South Pearl Lake Road. Is the applicant present? Come forward, please, and state your name for the record.
My name is Arlene Donnelly.
Okay. Anything further to add at this time, Arlene?
No.
Okay. Just a few general questions then for the record. There was a survey done last December. You're sure of the lot lines, is that
Yes.
correct? And the two decks are going to be one on top of the
one
other?
right on top of each other, yeah.
Okay. And the rest are just gonna be interior remodeling?
Be a new septic also.
And according to your site plan, you're not going to be any closer to the side lot lines with the decks than the existing home?
Correct.
Okay. Property is very steep there, isn't it?
Yes.
You won't be doing any land disturbing the land lakeside, are you?
No, no.
Just for some,
Just on the back where they have that like moat around the back.
Okay.
Is the bottom deck gonna be a wooden deck also? Okay. So really, you're just gonna have it supported on posts then? Is that what you're looking at?
I assume so,
Sure.
footings or whatever they put in.
Right. Are you gonna do anything with the steps that is going down to the water at all, or not?
I guess I'm gonna have to see it first to see how it, I'm not planning on doing anything, but it's just gonna be where the deck ends and how big of a step there's gonna be up.
Sure.
So we may have to alter that.
Somehow you're gonna have to get from
Get
the
them
deck
together.
to the
Yeah, the steps,
steps.
yeah.
You know, we kind of assume that, but the rest of the steps going down the
Down.
water, you're gonna leave those alone. Okay.
okay, and if an approval were granted, when would you start construction?
Would be fairly soon.
Any other committee questions at this time? Okay.
And the interior remodeling, you're looking at, are you gonna be doing new siding on the outside of in like windows and doors?
Windows
And
and doors and siding and
just give it a good facelift? Okay.
interior gutting,
Sure, okay,
basically.
all right, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any correspondence?
Yes, we have letters in support from both adjoining property owners. The first one is from Perry and Nancy Miller, Mueller. They're from 16005 Gebhardt Road, Brookfield, Wisconsin. They own lots W4684 and W4676 South Pearl Lake Road. And the letter states, my wife and I own the lots that are adjacent to Arlene Donnelly's property. She is a fine neighbor, and we want to indicate that we totally support the proposed remodeling. The proposed decks and remodeling are only going to make their place more habitable and make it more attractive and functional. Arlene is a fine neighbor and a person that is concerned and appreciates the environment. I know she would do nothing to harm Pearl Lake that we both care about. Again, my wife and I support the improvements that are proposed and want to keep fine neighbors like Arlene. We request the Board of Adjustment grant the variance that Arlene has requested. I'm sorry I will not be able to make the public hearing, but please consider this letter as our total support for the variance. The other letter of support is from Richard Kleinfeld, Kleinfeldt, W4666 South Pearl Lake Road. I've been the owner of the parcel immediately adjacent to Arlene Donnelly for the past 25 years. Her parents, Elmer and Ruth Hansen, had owned their parcel for many years prior to my becoming their neighbor. I have always found Arlene and her parents to be excellent neighbors, and I support fully Arlene's plan to upgrade her property as proposed. I have no objection to her requests for the variance as requested. In the event you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And that's from Richard C. Kleinfeld. And that's all the correspondence we have.
No one registered to speak in favor or objecting. Staff comments?
When the board visited the property, as mentioned, they noted that the property is steep, so erosion would be a concern if there would be excessive land disturbance. But if it's just supported on posts, I'm sure that's going to be very minimal. It's already been noted a new septic system is planned. The board also noted the property is unique in that it is a pie-shaped parcel, and all the required water setbacks will be maintained. So I wouldn't have any other comments.
Okay, that closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We will adjourn to the room directly behind us for business meeting, at which time we'll vote on the applications. Planning and zoning will meet here for their public hearing next.
Take care, Bob.
Nice work.
Nice working with you.
I was just catching on.
I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustments. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately. Submit the registration slip to myself or the secretary. The committee has looked at all of the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct a meeting at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my far left, Joe Piaski, Larry Crawford, Mike Likeness, Bob Wadle, Mark Schumacher, zoning administrator to my right, and my name is Mark Kirschner. First application tonight, Kenneth J. and Jean M. Polkowski, Potosi, Wisconsin, made application for conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph 18, and 58-454, paragraph 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 1991 30-foot Sierra.
Call this meeting Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant?
I like it. I don't have to talk. To store a 1991 30 Sierra Cobra travel trailer in an AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 11.09 acre parcel of land known as Lot 4 of Certified Survey Map number 4813, being part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 2, Town 20 North, Range 10 East. Town of Rose, fire number N7109, 17th Drive. Applicant, would you state your name for the record, please?
Kenneth Polkowski.
Can you tell us any more? Any information that you can give us that we haven't received from you or anything?
Well, it's just be able to put this travel trailer there, and then what we wanted to do then, I understand I could come back probably tomorrow and get a permit to put just a deck and make a patio just on the ground, nothing fancy. And this recreation vehicle, all it is just going to be for, coming up there, to get away from, And eventually we plan on building a house there. And when we put this up there, we wanted to have a septic system put in. Okay, so.
Committee questions?
Yes. Is the trailer licensed and roadworthy?
Yes,
right
it is.
now? And will the trailer be at least 100 feet from all the lot lines?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
There was a survey done in 2002, so you're sure about all the lot lines?
Oh,
then?
yeah.
They're very visibly marked.
They're very busy, yes.
You have a well on the property
Yes.
now, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is the trailer connected to running water?
It's not here.
So if this,
Plan on that.
if this application would be granted, would you be connecting the trailer to running water?
Yes,
Okay. And at that time, then you'd have to have a septic system.
correct. We
Okay.
understand
Okay,
that.
good, good.
And your site plan now shows that you'll use a chemical toilet for now, and then eventually the septic system, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
And you've had a perk test done, is that correct?
correct. When we bought the place was it?
Any idea when the new septic would be installed, or?
Well, we're hoping, trying to get it as soon as we can here.
And the proposed deck now, that will not be attached to the trailer, is
No.
that correct? Okay. And are there other trailers in the area?
Yeah, there's one down on 17th Drive, in the other direction. The Kazubas have that. It's right on the road.
And you'll be using the existing driveway that's there now?
We had a driveway and a culvert put in.
Okay. You have a uniform property address number now, is that correct?
Yeah, 7109.
And if the approval were granted, approximately when would the trailer be placed?
Well, as soon as approval, within maybe a week or two or so. And as soon as we can probably negotiate what a septic system would be, we have to come out there and take a look.
And we spoke with the town chair. He said that the town is not wanting us to put a travel trailer there because it can be seen from the road, but it's probably 150 to 200 feet away from the road. And there are pine trees growing, but we have fence panels, solid wood fence panels that are stored in that shed, and we would be willing to put up a fence so that it wouldn't be visible at all from the road.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Joe or Larry?
How far north of where your site plan shows where the trailer is going to be, how far north does your property go from there? Does it go quite a ways?
Yeah.
There's a hedgerow, a line of trees, and then there's a field to the north of there?
Right.
Okay.
It goes right along 17th. When you turn the corner, there's the neighbor's there, driveway, and then ours is there. That's where it starts and goes all the way around up to our neighbor, which is Hunt or whatever, Jeff Hunt's property line there. But you can't even see his house or anything.
So how far north of where you were going to place the trailer is your north lot line?
Let me see, I've measured that. About, from there, it's about 400.
400 feet to the north, okay. So would there, if the concern, and I'll be reading a letter from the town of Rose into the record in a minute, but my question is that, are there other locations on that property that you could consider placing this trailer on that would be less visible than where you've got it planned?
We're not visible to any neighbor that we have now.
Well, I understand that, but, there's some concerns by the township, and I'm trying to come up with some sort of a compromise or resolution here. So my question is there another place on your property that you could place this travel trailer where it would be less visible from the public road?
Well, maybe.
There are dozens of
Okay.
places.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's,
Okay.
but it's a whole field of switchgrass that will need
Yep.
to be mowed and addressed.
And that's showing on your site plan too. It's written
Oh,
right
we
in
did.
there.
Oh,
so-
good.
Yep, so, but I wanted to make sure that, there's
Yeah.
about 400 feet or so to the north.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Correspondence?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we do have a letter of opposition from the town of Rose that was received via fax yesterday. And it says, regarding the conditional use travel trailer, Kenneth Polkowski, on April 13th, 2010, the Town of Rose Town Board met. During that meeting, the board reviewed and discussed the materials presented by Kenneth and Jean Polkowski for a conditional use for a 1991 30-foot Sierra Cobra travel trailer on their property. After discussion, the board voted to oppose the conditional use permit. The board cited the town's comprehensive plan 2030 for rationality in opposing the permit. Natural resources goal number 4, preserve the intrinsic visual qualities of our landscape that define its real character. Objective NR 4.2 and 4.3. The board realizes there are travel trailers present in our township at present, but it should be noted that these were grandfathered in prior to adopting county zoning and adopting a comprehensive plan. And that's all the correspondence we have on the application.
Anyone in favor or opposition?
Nope.
Staff comments?
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and other pertinent data for this and all the other applications that would be considered tonight. When the committee viewed the property, they noted there is an existing fire number. The property is well vegetated. The trailer location would not be highly visible from the public road. No other trailers were noted in the immediate area. The applicants did indicate there's one on 17th. For the record, we always advise the applicants to contact the neighbors in the township to make sure there are no concerns. Zoning is a mosaic of cooperation between units of government, and part of that is listening to the other side of the fence when it comes to dealing with zoning. It's a cooperative effort between the township and the county. I'm always reluctant to recommend that the Planning and Zoning Committee act against the wishes of the town board, and this is really no exception. It's difficult for me to recommend this application be approved based upon the concerns of the township. What I think needs to be done here is the applicants either need to reconsider their application. There's a lot of other alternatives that can be done with the property. You can, and just to go through those, obviously you can pull the trailer back and forth. You can store the trailer in a completely enclosed building, or you can build a small cabin in lieu of having a travel trailer. Those are just some of the options. You can also store a travel trailer at a place of residence when you're not using it on the vacant property. So there's a lot of different alternatives, but another one might be to see if the town board would not be as concerned if there would be a possibility of placing the trailer on a different location on the property so it wouldn't be so visible from the public road. And so I can't recommend to the board or the committee that they consider approving this application. I can only recommend it be denied, but I can also suggest that maybe the applicant might consider requesting the application be tabled to see if they can meet with the town board and find an alternate spot that would be less of a concern to the township. Now, we have a lot of these, and we have another application next month in the town of Rose also. So, the township is concerned about setting a precedent, but, based upon the way the application is presented tonight, I really can't recommend that it be approved the way it's been submitted. I can only suggest that it either be denied or the applicants consider possibly requesting that the committee table this application and try to meet with the town board and come up with an alternate location which would not be as visible from the public road, because that appears to be the concern of the township in this particular application. So I think everything else has been considered. The septic, if these type of applications are approved, we do annual inspections to make sure they're kept licensed and roadworthy. They can't have any additions or attachments. That's why we asked about the deck not being attached. You have to have adequate sanitary facilities. As I mentioned, if you don't have running water, a portable chemical toilet is perfectly acceptable. If you do have running water, then you have to have a regular septic system. So that's really the only comments I would have. The applicants would have a chance for a rebuttal in answer to the town board's concerns or something that I said too.
The applicant got anything that they'd like to say? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next application, Douglas J. and Catherine A. Rodenschel, Pine River, Wisconsin, have made application for conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph 19, and 58-454, paragraph 11 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish a dog kennel, maximum 8 adult dogs, with no commercial boarding, grooming, or training, utilizing an existing building with runs in an AG general agricultural zone. Location, an approximate 3.91 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 4003, being part of the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter lying south of Brown Deer Road, Section 24, Town 19 North, Range 12 East, Town of Leon. Fire number W2747, Brown Deer Road. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name for the record, Doug?
Doug Redensel.
Anything you can tell the committee, Doug?
I'm just using them for my own use. They're hunting dogs, and I started bear hunting last year a little bit, and had to get a couple dogs for that. So I ain't training them for anybody else or boarding any other dogs. So had dogs since I was probably 12 years old. So I just
Look very nice around your property there. Committee questions?
Have you contacted the county humane officer?
no, I haven't. Is that Chris Hintz?
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped to his office, but
Okay.
I didn't know if it was after the zoning got approved that he comes and does the inspection, or,
Well, either before or after,
Well,
but
I
one
didn't-
way or another, you'll have
Yes.
to get in touch with them, so.
Are you aware of the county kennel regulations?
as far
Requirements, I'm sorry.
as what?
Are you aware of the county kennel regulations?
Yeah, you can't have over 5 dogs, adult dogs?
They will be followed?
Yes, I put on 8, just in case I ever get another dog, but.
How many do you have now?
There's 7 there, and I think that, I called Joe, I was at a fire that morning, and I couldn't be there, but 2 are pups,
Okay.
and, I wanted to do it before, they get big, and if I have to get rid of a couple, I will, but, I wanted to get the kennel license to be legal, so. With the pups, within a month, one will be at the age of adult dogs, so,
These are your own hunting dogs?
yes, they are.
Won't be no commercial boarding or training,
Nope.
correct? Are the kennels at least 300 feet from any home other than your own?
Yes, their nearest home is 365 feet, I believe.
How will the animal waste be disposed of?
I do have agricultural land, and I'm gonna work it right into the soil.
You indicated there will be no more than 8 adult dogs,
So,
right?
if I ever get more, I guess I'll have to come back, but, as of right now, no.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, that's all I have.
Anything? Joe, Mike, or Bob, any other questions for Doug? Okay, thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
Correspondence?
We did receive one letter, but it was not signed, so we will not read it into the record. Other than that, we have no correspondence, no one in favor, registered in favor or in opposition.
I want to speak for information only, so staff comments.
As Doug said, the limit is 5 adult dogs, and if you go over that, you need a kennel permit. You also, there's a license through the county clerk's office that you need, and then Chris Hins or the humane officer will be coming out and do annual inspections of the kennels. When the committee viewed the property, they noted it was in good repair, very clean and presentable. The dogs obviously look like they're well taken care of, and I'd be real surprised if there was any problems. It's probably just a formality. So other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, Doug?
I spend a lot of money on my dogs,
Okay. All right, thank you, Doug. Next application, Craig C. and Karen K. Koch, Kaukauna, Wisconsin, made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph 18, and 58-454, paragraph 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 2003 31-foot Springdale travel trailer in an AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 3.0 acre parcel of land being east half of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter and the northeast 10 acres of the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter, all in section 18, town 19 north, Range 12 East, Town of Leon, Black Hawk Avenue. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name for the record, please, Craig?
Craig and Karen Cook.
Is there anything you can tell the committee?
We did go through the, who was it from the secretary, whatever. It is a 30-acre parcel. There was a typo in there. I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not, but. Yep. We basically just bought the land in January. It was a Plum Creek Timberlands. We bought it as just recreational use for the summer. We plan on putting our travel trailer there. We'll visit it on weekends through the summer, and then in fall we'll take it back over to Kaukauna with us. We don't plan on storing it there over winter at all.
Okay, so you'll pull it back and forth. That's what you're saying. In the fall, you'll be taking it.
In the fall we'll take it back.
It'll
but
be just
through
sitting there for the
we'll
summer
leave it
months.
there. Yeah, we'll just use it on weekends.
Committee questions?
Yeah, we have a few questions for you. Is the trailer licensed and roadworthy?
Yes, it is.
The site plan shows the closest lot line will be about 130 feet.
Yeah.
There's been a recent survey.
They actually did the survey when they went through the sale of it before we bought it.
You must be sure of the lot lines.
The
and
lot
where
lines
they
are very visible. All the flags are up yet. Yeah.
You're planning on using a portable toilet for it? You don't plan any running water?
No running water.
Any other buildings being planned out there?
We have a building permit for a 24 by 24 storage garage.
You know of any other trailers in the area right there?
That I don't know of. We're new to the area.
Are you planning any changes to the driveway?
No.
That your
Is
gate?
that that driveway an easement?
That's an easement road, yes.
Across your neighbors to the south there,
Don
Goralski?
Goralski, yeah, he has
Okay.
10 acres, and we have easement, one rod easement to the east side of it.
Is it your gate or his gate, or?
It's his gate.
Okay. Are you planning on applying to the managed forest
Yes.
laws?
Now, do they have a problem with the placement of a trailer?
No, because we're only putting 28 acres in MFL.
Okay.
That 2-acre parcel in the front we're going to leave out.
Okay. And that's where the trailers?
That's where the trailer and the garage are, yes.
Okay. Okay.
You don't have any fire number or address number out there now at all?
Not yet. When we applied for this and we got the building permit for the garage, we're going to establish a fire number for us.
If this approval is granted, when would the trailer be placed?
Within a month, hopefully before Memorial Weekend, is when we'd start camping.
Will you have the driveway locked, or will it be accessed like for emergency vehicles, or what is the?
It'll be
Situation.
gated, but that I'd have to work out. I don't know how they, depends upon what the fire code is. Do I have to leave it?
Well, you don't have to, but that's.
Yeah,
that'd be
and I don't know that yet.
That'd be placed at the fire department, and if it's locked, either they're gonna cut the lock, or
Right.
they're gonna tear the gate down, or whatever, if they gotta get in,
Yeah,
or keyed or whatever, but that's an option.
and then I'll make some phone calls to find out. I have no idea yet. It's all new to me.
That's all the questions.
Okay. Any other questions, Larry or Mike or Bob? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Correspondence.
No correspondence on the application, no one registered in favor or in opposition.
Staff comments?
The applicants did indicate on their site plan of possibility of a future holding tank. A holding tank isn't allowed unless no other septic system will work there. So, just for their information, if they ever get to the point of putting a septic in and running water, they would have to have a perk test, and then if it passes for a conventional system, that would have to be put in instead of a holding tank. But the way the plumbing codes are, the holding tank is really not much cheaper than a conventional septic system anyway, so that's probably what they would prefer to go with. We didn't look at the exact location because the access was gated, but it certainly did not appear like it would be visible from the road. I've gone over the other travel trailer requirements with the other applications, so there really isn't anything. And as the applicant mentioned, there was a typo. It's not a 10 and a 3-acre parcel. It's a 10 and a 30. So it's way more than the minimum square footage and acreage that we need. So I think everything else has been considered.
Okay. Is there anything the applicant would like to add? Okay, thank you. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to our Vice Chair, Joe Piaski. And this will be a zone change due to the conflict of interest with myself. So at this time, would you pass this down to Joe?
Next application is for the town of Coloma. Coloma, Wisconsin has made an application for zone change in accordance with sections 5813 through 138 and 58361 through 364 Washera County Zoning Code from RS20 single-family residential to OP Parks and Recreation to establish a public park with a swim beach within a shoreland area. Location is lots 17, 18, and 19 of Block 3 of Miller's Addition to Pleasant Lake Summer Resort Plat, and parcels between the lots and water edge being part of Government Lot 4 and part of the northwest 1/4, southeast 1/4, Section 33, Town of Coloma, Pleasant Lake, W13427 Check Drive. Is the applicant here? State your name and tell us a little bit about it.
Fred Erickson, Erickson Realty, a resident of Pleasant Lake, and I represent the town board also as their agent.
You want to tell us a little bit about the project, what you want to do?
Okay, what we want to do, the town of Coloma would like to establish a park for swimming and sunbathing. The swimming area, we plan on marking with buoys so that it's marked where people can swim. There is, at this time, there is a house on this property. Underneath the house are holding tanks. What we plan on doing is removing the house and building restroom facilities over the holding tanks that are there. The other thing we want to do is establish a parking area, like a 10 to 12 car parking area with signs properly marked for parking. The hours of the operation of the park will be from 7 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. No liquor will be allowed. And trash removal will take place on the property. We will do that. We have had some problems with one of our accesses to the lake. We have some small accesses there now, and we did have some problem, and it's probably our fault as the town board for not providing more trash cans and stuff at that property. So we did address that last year. One thing else I'd like to say, at one time we had a public swimming area on Pleasant Lake. It was privately owned by the Northside Bar. Several years ago that was purchased and the zoning was changed. The guy was going to build a bar there, but he decided to build a house instead. So we did lose our public swimming area at that time. So we would like to establish this for the town residents.
I'd like to give you a couple of plats here of the lake showing the boat traffic. There'll be two address both of them. I've marked on the north side there where the subject is. Boat traffic will come in there and be out approximately 200 feet. Because as you notice, there's a point there. They cannot swing in close to that point. So there'll be no problem in the swim area. Boat traffic out approximately 200 feet will not affect the swim area at all. We will mark it with buoys with the approval of the DNR. The public gave their approval of this in a referendum April 7th, 2009, and you have a copy of that. The results of the election was 95 yes, 31 no.
What we want to do here, we want to make sure that everyone's rights are protected. if there are problems down there, we will address them with the authorities and take care of the problems. And hopefully, it will be a place where people can go and enjoy the lake and not cause problems for people there at the lake, so that's all I have right now. So.
Okay, we go to committee questions for you.
Questions for the record. The plans are to purchase the property and have this as a public park, correct? Okay. And as you said, there's not going to be a boat landing, just a swimming beach. The home is going to be removed, correct? Anything else going to be removed?
What about the garage across the street? Are you going to keep that?
We're going to keep
Yes.
that.
Yep.
You know, we have a boat patrol.
Sure.
We want to store a boat there.
Yep, right. Okay.
The property has a fire number now, is that correct?
Correct.
And your site plan indicates that you'll be putting in about 10 parking spaces, is that correct? All right. Any other improvements planned? Did you know that?
We're not going to have a pier in the property, I guess I didn't.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're going to have the restrooms like a
All tight.
vault-type privy over the existing holding tanks, if that works out? Okay, yep.
No boat ramp, because we have one on the north side already. No pier also.
Now, if there are violations, you know, I'm assuming that if you have hours and other restrictions about no parking outside the designated areas, if you put up signs, and you have the restrictions of no liquor, you'll pass these through the normal town resolution procedures, whatever. And do you have an arrangement with municipal law enforcement like the Village of Coloma so if there's a problem out there, if they go through the sheriff's department and they transfer it to the village and the village patrol, the village police would?
The village patrols in our township,
Okay.
approximately 10 to 15 hours a week. So
Okay. And if not, the sheriff's department could respond as well to
We
that.
discussed that with Teddy Luco at the last town board meeting
Okay,
to enforce it.
okay,
The ordinance would have to be put in place for the parking signs along the road.
right. And I just want, ask the question because, sometimes, there's restrictions made, but then if there's no enforcement, that can be a problem. But you have a contractual agreement with the Village of Coloma to do law enforcement. Okay, good.
Have you guys looked at the water runoff from the parking area or from the road into that lot? I guess the suggestion I would have is we work with the Land Conservation Department when it's developed to make sure that it doesn't run into the lake.
Definitely.
I think that's something you have to do anyway, your roads and everything. That was just a question. Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Okay, you guys can sit down. Any correspondence?
Yes, we do. We have, at my last count, we have 6 letters in favor, 13 letters in opposition, and if you bear with me, I will read those into the record. So, 6 in favor and 13 in opposition. I'll read the first 6 letters in favor first. The first letter in favor is from Laura Congdon, 1733 Dayton Street, Mayville, Wisconsin. And the letter states, "My family, the Condons, Bakers, and Follets, have owned the lake property on Pleasant Lake for several generations. I personally am not a property owner, but luckily spend a lot of time at the Baker Cottage. I have long believed that it is only right that there should be a public swimming spot on Pleasant Lake for use by folks who do not own cottages there. It is my understanding that the town of Coloma has just purchased a cottage on the North Bay so as to have land for developing a public park. I support for a change in zoning so that this may proceed. The Baker Cottage is 3 lots down from the current public access at the bottom of the steps next to the point on the north side of the lake. This public access gets a lot of use. I have never witnessed any problems with people using the beach. In fact, last summer, some of the visitors actually spent time picking up debris and raking the sand beach at the public access to make it better. There is never any litter left behind. The only problem is it's too small. They need a public beach. Please rezone so that Pleasant Lake once again has a public beach. Thank you, Laura Congdon." Another letter in favor received on the 12th is from Tom and Katie Condon. Mark, and I think most residents of Coloma Township and the village feel it would be very advantageous to have a public beach at Pleasant Lake. Our lakes should not be the exclusive properties of those able to afford lakefront property. Our lakes are a valuable asset for the use of all citizens of the area. Please support the efforts of the town of Coloma to establish a public park and beach on the shores of Pleasant Lake. Thank you, Tom and Katie Condon. Also in favor, received on the 13th, Annabelle Baker and Richard Baker. We are owners of a cottage on the north side of the lake and very much appreciate and recommend the public swimming park under construction. Thanks, Annabelle Baker and Richard Baker. Also in favor, dated April 13th, from Francie Rowe, W13475 Check Lane, Coloma. Dear Mark, I want to go on record in support of the proposed park swimming beach on the north shore of Pleasant Lake. I have been a property owner on Pleasant Lake since 1980 and a visitor since I was a little girl. For many years, public swimming beaches were open on the south side of the lake, on the beach now owned by the Sunset Point condominium, and on the north shore to the west of the boat ramp. Both of these areas have been closed for public swimming for several years. The town of Coloma's purchase will provide a new and needed opportunity for township residents to be able to swim and enjoy the lake. I applaud the town of Coloma for taking the initiative to find and develop a piece of property on Pleasant Lake that will make Pleasant Lake accessible to all again. I strongly support the rezoning of the property to enable it to be used as a park and a beach. Please rezone the parcel as per the town of Coloma's request. Sincerely, Francie Rowe, Coloma. Also in favor, Jean McCubbin, MACCUBBIN, N277 Check Drive. I've been a property owner near Pleasant Lake in town of Coloma since August 2003, and I am in support of the rezoning of the shoreland property. In addition, I am in support of the preliminary plans by the town of Coloma to establish another point of public access on the 132-acre lake, this being for public use as a park with a swim, beach, restroom facility, and off-street parking. I currently am serving my second term on the Pleasant Lake Management District Board and have consistently been in support of maintaining current public access points and now support the town's plans for an additional access point. The lake serves shoreland property owners, landowners like me without lake access, as well as area residents and visitors to the county. The Lake Management District has spent considerable time and resources in improving the lake's quality for all of our enjoyment, be it summer or winter, as well as for decades to come. Pleasant Lake Management District, through its liaison member with the town of Coloma, Lee Fight, has been apprised of events leading up to this rezoning request. I look forward to the progress on the town's plans and what may result in a prime piece of property for years to come. Jean McCubbin. Also in support, received on the 15th. If it's not too late, I'm writing to support. This is from James Congdon, N7991 Schwartz Road, Horicon, Wisconsin. If it's not too late, I am writing to support the rezoning of the land on Pleasant Lake for a public swimming beach. There is a need for a suitable public swimming beach on the lake since the Pleasant Lake Resort and Sunset Point Resort properties have become private ownership and not available for the public to use. I was fortunate to have grown up on Pleasant Lake and able to enjoy use of the lake. I believe everybody should be able to enjoy our lakes. Not everyone is fortunate enough to be able to own lake property, so it's important to have lake access dedicated for the public. James Congdon. And I'll now read the letters in opposition. First one is from Lavona Farney, Randy and Patty Farney, Farney and family, Stephen Deborah Anderson and family, Mike and Laura Arrington and family, received April 12th. I'm writing this letter to protest the zone change for lots 17, 18, and 19, Block 3 of Miller's addition to Pleasant Lake Summer Resort plot and parcel between lots and Water's Edge being part of Government Lot 4, Section 33, Town of Coloma, Pleasant Lake, W13427 Check Drive. I would like this letter written into the minutes of the April 15th meeting. Check Road is heavily traveled and zoned for a public park with swim beach would be a traffic hazard and dangerous for those of us who have nearby property and lake rights. There is little room for parking, and parking on the road should be restricted for an area as heavily used as this. Those of us who live within that block, rarely if ever park on the road because it is so narrow. We all have drives and use them. The lots adjacent to the above-mentioned areas are all privately owned. We have owned our property for almost 40 years and believe that some consideration should be given to our concerns. In addition, the shoreline in that area has been badly eroded by low water level of the lake. Additional use would increase further erosion, making it virtually unusable in time. Those of us who own lake rights are very protective of the shoreline and take good care of it. That would not be the case if used by the public, as we all know. It could become a gathering place which would create disturbances to all of us. There would need to be security measures taken, plus there would be careful maintenance to keep it from becoming littered and an eyesore to our neighborhood. Please take these issues into consideration as you vote on this zone change. Pleasant Lake is an asset to Coloma. Please keep it that way. Sincerely, Lavana Farney, Randy and Patty Farmy and family, Steve and Deborah Anderson and family, Mike and Laura Arrington and family. Also in opposition, Dr. Richard W. Blass, BLASS, and 165 4th Avenue, East Shore, Pleasant Lake. As a landowner of the lakefront property on Pleasant Lake, I am opposed to the zone change for the construction of a public beach on the north shore of Pleasant Lake. I feel this additional burden on a lake which is already maximally stressed, experiencing decreased water levels, increasing recreational boating, enhanced pollution, and decreased fish population is not indicated. Further, in today's unfavorable economy, expenditures for this project could be put toward more immediate projects by the township. I appreciate your consideration of my viewpoint. Dr. Richard W. Blass. Also in opposition, received 412. This is from Mr. and Mrs. T. Byers, B-Y-E-R-S, Pleasant Lake. My husband and I have concerns about the upcoming zoning decision to rezone the beach at Pleasant Lake for a public beach. We are afraid that there will not be adequate security, that the quality of the lake will be affected, that the property values may be negatively affected, and the road is not equipped to accommodate the traffic with all the pedestrians that walk through that area, etc. Please reconsider your decision, Mr. and Mrs. T. Byers, Pleasant Lake. Also in opposition, Andrew J. Becker. As a property owner on Pleasant Lake, I was distressed to find that a public park is being proposed on Pleasant Lake. Excuse me. I have a lot of misgivings about this decision, not only due to traffic and congestion it may create on and around the lake, as well as the potential for conflict with local property owners who might not appreciate the situations which undoubtedly will come out of it. The most troubling aspect of this whole affair is the timing. You as a board have decided the best time to pursue the proposal is a time when the majority of the lake taxpayers are not around to voice their opinions. This is reminiscent of how business is done in Washington. Run it through when nobody is around to object, and to hell with them. This is what the politicians want, and that's all that matters. As a suggestion, perhaps an open forum on the matter could be held at the next Lake District meeting, unless you are afraid you might have to answer some hard questions from people who should be representing but are not members of your little club. It would be the right thing to do if that matters to you in any way. Thank you for your time, Andrew J. Becker. Also in opposition, received 413, Donna Hansen, Hansen, 9396 4th Road, Pleasant Lake. I first saw in Pleasant Lake in 1949. It was a beautiful jewel. It was so gorgeous it brought tears to your eyes. It took until 1975 to acquire a place at my dream of heaven. Over the years, there have been a few people who have tried to spoil the beautiful jewel. Its ecology is always at risk. This new project would put more stress on the lake when it is at a very low and dangerous time. The lake is very low and most shores are very muddy. We must give nature time to recover. More traffic on the lake is the worst scenario. Another problem the project would cause would be road congestion and traffic. The strip of land is narrow and the road is narrow. Cars pulling in and out would create a hazard. This is a main road that services all the homes from 4th Road around the north and west side of the lake. The cost of police and fire protection would be prohibitive. The cost of liability insurance would be high. There is also cost of sanitation, i.e. cleaning the restrooms, daily pickup, disposal of refuse in order to prevent the infestation of rats and mice. This sounds like more than we can handle in times when most towns are making cuts with the economy in so much trouble. Respectively, Donna Hanson. And also a letter in opposition from Willard Brenner, Brenner, received 413. My name is Willard C. Brenner, and I am owner of 2 properties located on Pleasant Lake. It has been brought to my attention that the Waushara County Zoning Board would be making a decision this Thursday to whether to purchase lakefront property for the purpose of making it into a public beach with bathrooms and parking for 10 to 12 cars. As one of my homes, W13480 Check Drive, is adjacent to this site, I am quite concerned about the impact this will have on not only the value of my home, but also the effect of the lake. Some of my concerns include noise, parking along the road, increased traffic patterns, safety issues with children while crossing Check Drive, garbage, litter, loitering, security, just to name a few. My personal residence in Illinois excludes me, as well as most of the other property owners on the lake, from voting on the referendum that was held last year, but we should have some rights in relative to a major decision like this. When I step back and weigh the pros and cons, the cons far outweigh the pros from my perspective. I bought this piece of property in 2008, and if I had known a public beach was being considered next to our lake frontage, I would have never considered the purchase. Having said all this, I'd like you to consider voting no to purchasing this property for a public beach. I also would like you to call me prior to the meeting on Thursday to discuss this further. Thank you for your time and anticipated cooperation. Have a great day. Willard C. Brenner. Also is a letter in opposition from Frazier, W13420 Check Drive, and this letter is referred to later on in other correspondence. This was received on April 13th. I'm very concerned about the proposed purchase of the Frank Johnson property at the north end of Pleasant Lake, W13427 Check Drive, Coloma. It is being proposed that the Township of Coloma would purchase this property with the expressed intent of creating a public beach for the purpose of preserving green space as well as public access to the lake for the people of the surrounding area. My concern lies in the additional traffic the lake will undoubtedly see given additional public access above and beyond that which already exists. It would be foolish to believe that an increase in access wouldn't also bring increased additional traffic to the lake. The danger is real, and you have but to watch the lake any given summer weekend during normal skiing hours, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. My family excuse me, has been a landowner on the lake for the last 4 decades. Historically, there was significantly more public access, but a lot has changed in the last 40 years. 4 decades ago, there was a restaurant with a beach, a bar with a beach, a campground within a block of the lake, and a boat rental with a beach and boat landing. The difference then was that the additional traffic those venues brought to the lake could be handled because there were so few power boats owned by the people with property on the lake. Furthermore, the property surrounding the lake was significantly less developed than it is now, with numerous cottages that saw very little annual use. History clearly shows that the beaches and campground brought a significant amount of additional powerboat traffic to the lake. The lake is small, and as few as 10 ski boats can bring the lake to the brink of disaster, depending on weather conditions. Powerboat on the lake have proliferated 200 to 300%, maybe more in the last 40 years. In addition to the increase in the number of boats, the average size has increased also. When we first came to the lake, a boat with a 100-horsepower motor on it was something to marvel at. Today, it isn't even considered acceptable for skiing. This increase has escalated the risks associated with boating and placed additional strains on the lake's ecosystem. The lake is also being pushed beyond what is safe, and accidents will become commonplace should the traffic increase. In the last 10 years, I have on more than one occasion seen a family ask a neighbor to follow them with a second boat to watch their skiers for fear of disaster should the skier fall in the heavy boat traffic. I think I speak for all the members of the lake that we welcome any and all activities that are organized and sponsored by the township, such as a fishery, 4th of July, and more, but a beach is a dangerous addition to an already stressed lake. Beyond the concerns for lake traffic, the Frank Johnson property is not physically well suited for a public beach. There's no room for parking on the road, so a large portion of the property will need to be allocated for parking. On a busy day, it is unlikely to have sufficient space, which means that the people will most assuredly end up parking on the road and or on the properties of the surrounding homeowners. We have a series of large rocks bordering our property along the road. Those rocks were placed there in direct response to the parking issues associated with the property in question 35 years ago, when it was a public park with almost twice the property that is being allocated this time. Furthermore, taking this action this early in the year is not fair to numerous homeowners in the area who have not even opened their homes yet for the summer. This looks very much like an attempt by the town of Coloma to push this through before anyone has a chance to protest. I heard now that the realtor that wrote the offer is donating his commission to the township. There clearly is more to this than what appears on the surface. The Township of Coloma has stated their intent is only to have a swimming area, no pier or unroped shoreline in order to prevent the docking of watercraft. While we recognize these measures are valid attempts to address the concern of adjacent property owners as well as others on the lake affected by an increase in lake traffic, they are at best deterrents and no real legal value. Anyone contemporary, more about a foot of shore either side of this property in Wisconsin state law would clearly support the rights over the affected property owner. If you spent much time on the water, you know this is a commonplace and will happen. Patrons with watercraft will be oblivious to intend to discourage additional boat traffic. Having boats moored off the beach also basically negates the township's intent of controlling alcohol, as it can be kept just beyond the park perimeter. Wisconsin law recognizes that owners of land bordering lakes and rivers, riparian owners, hold rights in the water next to the property. These riparian rights include using the shoreline, the reasonable use of the water, and a right to build piers for navigation. However, the Wisconsin State Supreme Court has ruled that when conflicts occur between the rights of riparian owners and public rights, the public rights are primary and the riparian owners secondary. We fully recognize and support Wisconsin's public trust doctrine, as it states the lakes and waterways of our state are forever free and belong to the public. As mentioned earlier, we welcome any and all activities such as Coloma's fishery. This isn't about public access, this is about public safety. This lake cannot support any more powerboat traffic on summer weekends. Thank you. Fraser, Coloma, Wisconsin. Also in opposition, John and Corrine Gusloff, Gusloff, P.O. Box 396, Winnebago, Illinois, W13461 Check Lane, Coloma, dated 4/13. This letter is written in protest of the zone change for the property of Frank Johnson, W13427 Check Drive, Pleasant Lake, Coloma, Wisconsin. The Gusloff property family has been owners of lake property in the North Bay of Pleasant Lake for over 60 years. We are second-generation owners, and our nephews are third-generation owners at the present time. Establishing a public park with a swim beach will greatly devalue our property. Where will the money come from to maintain this public park and swim area? The taxpayers, who are the cottage owners, and once again our taxes will be raised, and they are high enough now. There are many safety concerns that come to mind concerning a public park and swim beach area, more traffic on the road and on the lake. With this proposed park and swim area, there will be many people bringing in additional boats and personal watercraft. Where will these be beached? Boating laws, we believe, state that a boat must stay away from a pier by 100 feet while making a wake and 200 feet from shore. If there is to be a swimming area marked with buoys out 200 feet from the shore, plus an additional 100 feet to a boat, this will leave almost nothing for a boat to return a skier to our pier or any of the other piers. Many swimmers use rafts to float on, and also rafts float on their own, causing another potential problem. Swimmers going after their stray rafts. After skiing hours, there are many pontoon boats that leave their pier and travel around the lake or anchor. This presents a navigation problem with all the swimmers floating or swimming over to the point. Who will maintain the park, and will there be a curfew? Police patrol, beach fires allowed, time the park would close for the night, loud parties and music allowed, debris and garbage. This would all be a view that we would see from our lake decks, not a pretty sight. We think all of this would be extremely hard to control and patrol day in and day out, so that leaves more potential for more problems that none of the lake property owners need to have to be concerned about. Safety of the water, roads, public park, and swimming area is a huge issue that we are very concerned about. We do not feel that rezoning this property would be in the best interest of the lake property owners. Sincerely, John and Corinne Gusloff. Also opposed, a letter from Mike Fraser, received 410, attaches a document relating to the proposed zone change for property on Pleasant Lake, W13427 Check Drive, Coloma. We own property adjacent to this property and feel a lot of facts have been overlooked in this matter. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. Thank you, Mike Fraser. And then he refers to the letter that I just read. Unless you want me to read it again. Also received 414 in opposition from Frederick Gusloff, Gusloff, regarding Pleasant Lake Beach. I have recently become aware of the efforts to create a new beach on Pleasant Lake and have concerns about safety and overcrowding. The first issue is the required safe zone for swimmers at the proposed beach. This 200-foot zone would overlap existing homeowners' piers, creating poor boat access to the main lake. My next concern is the location of the proposed beach at a narrow strip so close to the road. I strongly believe there will be negative impact on the property values for residents on the lake. There are already several public access points with less crowded shorelines and better main lake access sites already available. Thank you for your time, Frederick Gusloff. And also from Beth Gusloff, received 414 regarding Pleasant Lake Public Beach. I would like to preface my comments regarding the Pleasant Lake Public Beach by explaining my association with Pleasant Lake. My family, Pete Povalitis, Povalitis, has owned 2 cottages on the lake for 63 years. I met my husband at Pleasant Lake, and his family, Harry Gusloff, also owned a cottage for as many years. Each family encompasses 4 generations. I now watch my 6 grandchildren growing up on Pleasant Lake. I have written in the past and now once again expressing my opinion that a public beach at the selected location is a very serious and dangerous mistake and certainly spells disaster. I think we can agree that Pleasant Lake, especially the Bay Area in front of the proposed public beach, is very small. The cottage owners use the area in front of their cottages for takeoff and drop-off of their skiers, who are mostly children. They have an unwritten safety code which has been respected and adhered to for many years. A pattern of takeoff and drop-off in a clockwise fashion, each taking a turn, no cutting in front of another boat, in order to ensure the safety of each skier. If a buoy is placed 200 feet from the public beach and the boats must stay an additional 100 feet away, where are our skiers to start and be dropped off? Additionally, where will the general public drop their skiers? Where will they dock their boats? How will you ensure the safety of the swimmers and the skiers? How will you enforce the boat safety rules? Will you limit the number of boats, especially on 4th of July and other holidays and weekends? What about the fishermen and their boat hours? And who has the liability? For surely someone will be hurt. There are a multitude of problems that I hope you have considered: public beach hours, alcohol consumption, maintenance, traffic congestion, and law enforcement. The cottage owners, taxpayers, will be expected to pay while their lake rights will be diminished. Please give me your reason for selecting our small, quiet, Pleasant Lake and tearing the Pleasant rate out of it. As melodramatic as this sounds, there is a lot of truth in what I have said. I speak for my dear Pleasant Lake, for its past, for its future. You're responsible for turning a page, for setting a precedent. Pleasant Lake will never be the same. Beth Gusloff. Also in opposition, dated April 14th, David and Linda Wachowiak, Wachowiak, regarding zone change requested by Town of Coloma, Lot 17, 18, 19, Block 3, Miller's Addition to Pleasant Lake Summer Resort Plat. This letter is written in response to your letter regarding the public hearing to be held on April 15, 2010, regarding the Town of Coloma's request for a zone change to establish a public park with swim beach on Lot 17, 18, 19, Block 3, Miller's Addition to Pleasant Lake Summer Resort Plat. We are not able to be present, but would like our letter read into the record of the hearing. As property owners in the near vicinity, we wish to oppose the zone change for several reasons. Number one, the proposed park is in the middle of a residential-only area and in close proximity to many surrounding homes. Depending on the hours it would be open to the public and the enforcement of those hours, the park could become an unpleasant, noisy neighbor at all hours of the day and night. Number two, Parking will be problematic if the park becomes a popular spot. If cars end up parking on the street, it will create an even more dangerous situation that already exists for anyone trying to cross the street to get to beachfront property. Number 3, as grandparents of 4 grandchildren under 5 years of age, the idea of additional traffic in this area is unwelcome, as is the speed at which some vehicles proceed on Check Drive. Number 4, in the last few years, litter has become an increasing problem in the entire Pleasant Lake area, and a new park area would most likely add to that problem. We're already picking up more restaurant garbage, soda, and beer cans in our area and yards than we care to. While some of these objections may seem petty, they would adversely affect the quality of life for residents in the area. Thank you for allowing us to voice our concerns to the proposed zone change. David and Linda Wakowiak. Also in opposition, dated 4/15, Chris, Gina, Roger, and Linda Gusloff. We will be attending the meeting tonight, but in advance I thought it would be best to send our thoughts for your review. Please confirm the receipt of this letter. Thanks, Chris, Gina, Roger, and Linda Gusloff. And their letter states, we are co-owners of the cottage at N268 Third Court on Pleasant Lake. This piece of property has been in the Gusloff family for over 60 years. Currently, the 4th generation of Gusloffs are enjoying everything that Pleasant Lake has to offer. We bring this to your attention only to provide a backdrop for that Pleasant Lake is not just a vacation spot for us, rather part of the fabric of our entire family. It is traditions and memories that have been passed down from generation to generation. It has been brought to our attention that property near our family cottage is seeking to be rezoned in order that a public beach may be installed. Our property is about 500 feet or a short 4 cottages away from the proposed beach site, between the proposed beach and the point. In light of our family's history and familiarity with Pleasant Lake, as well as the proximity of the subject property to ours, we feel that our thoughts and feelings are germane to any discussions relating to the rezoning of the property for public use. Additionally, we hope that you will strongly consider our opinions when making any decisions, as ultimately our family will be bearing the consequences of any action taken for the foreseeable future. We strongly oppose the rezoning for a variety of reasons. Safety is our biggest concern, both on and off the water. Putting a beach in the corner of the bay creates a number of safety issues because there is not enough room to accommodate more boats or people. More boats equal more people. In our corner alone, there are at least 6 to 8 boats owned and operated by tax-paying landowners that take off and drop off in what is already a very small area. All of these boats pull skiers and tube riders, many of which are children. Additional boat traffic generated from beachgoers who are many times not respectful of the lake rules create a significant and unnecessary risk in such a small area. It will be just a matter of time before there's an accident. Number 2, the plans call for a buoy to be placed 200 feet offshore, map provided by Wisconsin DNR website, to provide for a safe swimming area. The unintended consequences of creating this swimming area is that because speedboats must stay an additional 100 feet away from the buoy, the boat traffic pattern is put virtually in the middle of the bay, making it very dangerous and difficult to enter the bay and make a turn, let alone drop off a skier. As a result, we will be forced into situations where we will have to ski, tube, and partake in other water sports away from our pier in order to be safe. This new swim area will make our water frontage not only dangerous, but will take away something we have earned over 60 years. The enjoyment that we get from our lake use and the practical use of our property, our own property, will be severely diminished. Number 3, boats will be hanging out in the bay and picking up and dropping people off at the beach. Currently, this happens all the time in Pleasant Lake. Only now, instead of doing this in open water in the larger area of the lake, it will be done in the bay, creating a crowd of boats. Again, it is not if, but when an accident will take place. Number 4, safety. Safety off the road is a major concern as well. Once you've filled up the 10 parking spots, the road will be lined with cars and trailers parked on the shoulders wherever there is room, blocking landowners from parking, among other things. This is already an issue. We know this firsthand as our cottage is located just down the road from the existing public beach. On weekends and holidays, cars and trailers are all over the side of the road. The roads in and around the lake are not suited to handle any overflow of traffic, making it unsafe for the kids to run and ride their bikes. Number 5, partying people with no interest in the area create unsafe and uncontrollable conditions. The very nature of a beach will undoubtedly produce undesirable actions from visitors from time to time. These situations are unpredictable and dangerous, and we will be forced to deal with them through no fault of our own. Property value. Number one, clearly all of our property values will be negatively impacted in an unprecedented economic time where none of us can risk losing value. Rezoning will do nothing but bring property values down. Instead of looking at the nice cottage that is on the site today, our view will be changed to a parking lot and an outhouse, not to mention the potential for garbage and other debris. Number two, the added expenses of the proposed public beach will also impact our taxes, the cost of the land acquisition, the cost to renovate, cost to clean up, upkeep, the income lost from taxes collected from the existing site. All these factors will drive our taxes up. We are already paying substantial taxes and cannot afford increases to pay for a park. If you have not already done so already, we encourage you to visit our lake during a summer weekend and see how busy it is. More importantly, look at how busy our bay is, how difficult maneuvering in under the current conditions, and then imagine how it would be done in the proposed area 300 feet off the east shore and 100 feet from the existing piers and shorelines. Then add a couple of swimmers bobbing up and down, because someone always swims out of the buoys, and a paddle boat, jet ski, or canoe to the mix. It will impact your decision, and it should be considered. In the end, if this beach were to be put in place, it would make Pleasant Lake more dangerous, reduce the overall value of the homes around the lake, and raise our taxes. If you look at this objectively, there is no way that this is the right thing to do. We would like to leave you with a question. If this was your property, how would you vote? Your decision is very important to us. Please consider its impact on our family and property and vote against the rezoning. Sincerely, Chris and Roger Gusloff. And that's all the correspondence we have. We have several people registered in favor, in addition to the two that represented the township. The first one is Tom Patton.
Tom Patton. I live on 4th Avenue, which runs east and west, be north and south on the east side of Pleasant Lake. I'm within walking distance of the lake, which I don't know the street. Lived there all my life and don't know the streets. I know the names of people who live on them, but I think it's Check Drive or Check Avenue, which goes by the Johnson property. I do have some pictures, if I can give you these pictures of the Lumber's Resort that was in the 50s, which was a beach at the time. And that was in the 50s and went into the 60s. And then Nelson bought it in the late 60s. Last owner. As you noticed on there, the beach is, I don't know if you have looked at the beach or the area of, I think the beach itself looks pretty much the same as it is now, without the pier and renovation of the building and the people. Even the water level doesn't seem has changed much. But I've been going to that lake for 60 years, and also I belong to the Lake District, and not having lake frontage and no really good public access to the lake for swimming or just for picnics, anything, just to take grandchildren, just for a family thing. But the reason for this park, I think the park or the public beach right now does not have parking at all. Is not handicap accessible at all. It's got too steep of a stairs going down, which is probably 12, 15, I don't know, steps down, but there is no access at all for them, and no restrooms. So I think probably this would be one advantage of moving, which would be basically what you'd be doing is just moving one beach into a different spot and making a better place. And from what I can hear by the old beach, I have not heard much opposition from the old beach where it is now, And I think I've heard more about boat traffic, more bad boat traffic, more than about the beach itself. But no, I am in full support of this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you know approximately the date of when this photograph was taken?
Like I said, Lumberg pretty much had the 50s on
50s.
that, and into the 60s, and William Nelson bought it probably in the late 60s and went into the 70s. So that there is when Lumberg owned it, so it would have to be in the 50s.
And when it ceased to be a public park is when Nelson bought it?
These places were never public. The bars and that, everybody just used them, and nobody, everybody just assumed it was public. And they knew, I think, they knew people owned it, but people just let them use it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Also registered to speak in favor, Thomas Pintar.
Tom Pintar, Town of Coloma. I live on 4th Avenue, about a mile and a half north of Pleasant Lake. There was a lot of concerns raised tonight about safety, and certainly everything that I've heard from the town board is that this has been addressed very thoroughly, and I think it is a concern. Speaking of safety, this is one of my bicycle routes, and I see on the boat ramp a lot of people swimming sometimes because it's really not a good place for public access. And this is not a safe situation either, with boats being launched there. So I think this would be a lot safer proximity of use than what's being used now. So I'm very much in favor of it. Thank you.
And then we have people to speak in opposition. The first one is Gina Gusloff. Sure.
Signed up differently, but.
And you're Linda?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, I had you next.
How are you?
Good.
Well, I was going to read a letter, but you already read it, so I'm assuming you don't want me to do that again? You want to go home tonight?
That's
We've
my,
heard the letter.
that would be my vote, yeah.
Okay, and I was wondering, because this goes to the top, but we do, but we want to bring a vision with it.
Sure.
We do here, if we can just bring it up a little closer. This obviously is a picture of the survey of Pleasant Lake, and right here is the proposed beach area in the purple. Okay, and if you look, it is marked. The purple is the buoys, the 200 feet out, 100 feet from the buoy is in the green, and then this would be the proposed, like this is where our boat traffic could then go. So you can see it's almost cut in half of this very small bay area. Now our cottage is right here. There's several cottages right here. This is where we see the biggest problem. We have no objections to the public coming and using Pleasant Lake. We really do not like this area, this proposed site for a new public beach area. There is one right here, which is nice. I mean, I just kind of penciled it in right here because it's closer to, it's in the open area. It does not pose such a risk with the swimmers. Now, there are no buoys out there now for some reason. I don't know why that is, but there are no buoys designating the public beach area over here. So we just wanted to kind of give you a visual of the safety concerns, and that is our biggest concern, is the safety issues that the public beach being over in this bay area will pose. It's a very small area, and have you all been out there?
Yep.
To see the site? Okay.
That's correct.
I also have this map, so,
Okay, well, that was too small for my
well,
hand to be able to.
it's a map.
We just wanted to, kind of recognize the different areas and so forth. 'Cause we have young kids who are boating and skiing, and there's a lot of little kids. There's probably 20 kids just in this little area here, and there are constantly boats leaving and, pulling young kids. And I just see, I mean, I think it's too small to begin with. And then when I found out this was going to be cut in half, I thought we just acquired our cottage Can I ask a question? Is there a sign by the boat launch now? Is there a no swimming sign? Do we know that?
Well, the township is the applicant, and the township would have a chance to have a rebuttal. So if they have pencils and paper in hand, they'll be making a note, and they can respond to your question. If you're asking me, I don't know. But hopefully they'll be able to answer that question.
If there is a sign there already, just assuming no swimming, because it's a boat launch, I'm assuming people don't want to swim at a boat launch, but they have no other choice to swim at a boat launch. Who's patrolling them now? It's not patrolled right now to get them out of there. So who's going to patrol them when they're swimming outside of the 200 feet buoys? That's.
But there are a lot of concerns, and I know that you don't have the answer to this, but when they were saying that they contracted with law enforcement, how do we find out that all of these issues that we have, all these concerns about law enforcement and, you know, who is going to make sure that they adhere to all the rules there, the parking conditions? How do we get that information to see, like, the contract that was signed between the town of Coloma and the law enforcement agencies?
Well, there's public records laws in the state of Wisconsin, and if there's a contractual agreement between the village and the township, you could request a copy of that from, probably the best place to start would be the town clerk. And you could ask for a copy of that contract with the village. Okay? You could also come to a town board meeting and maybe get some of those questions answered too. Okay? All right, thanks. Also registered in opposition, James Flynn.
Yeah, I'm Jim Flynn, and I have my property driveway is directly north of this proposed property, and I'm concerned about parking, for one thing. It's only natural that if the lot's going to be full, people are going to look for a place to park, and my driveway would be a good place for them to park, I'm sure they think. And along with that, Tim Condons was saying there was no problem down there by Herb Holmes, that public access down there. Last year, somebody sawed off Herb Holden's flagpole. They've had bonfires on his lawn. They actually got on his deck and used his barbecue grill when he wasn't around. So I think there has been problems down there. And there, as far as litter, that's a concern there. And they've all been talking about safety, which is a concern. If this swimming area is 200 feet out into the lake, in that small cove there, I don't know how our lake property is Schaefer's is right next to this, and ours is next. And we have we've got about a 40-foot pier out there, and we don't even swim there ourselves because it's nothing but mud. And in front of Mrs. Schaefer's, that's nothing but mud. And in front of Frank's, that's nothing but mud. So I don't know how they're going to make a swimming area out of this, especially going out 200 feet. It's nothing but mud. So it don't make too much sense to have it there. And Schaefer's and Fraser's are concerned about if the swimming area is going to be the width of the property, what's going to keep people from going over into Fraser's property and Schaefer's property from the parking lot down to the beach. I think is there going to be a fence that goes all the way to the water line, or what are they planning on that?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen any proposal on that.
Again, I assume that the representatives from the township behind you are diligently taking notes, and they'll respond to your concerns when they have their chance for rebuttal at the very end.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be able to answer that too.
But like you say, if this is 200 feet out into the lake, I don't know how we are going to get into our property because of that small cove that we live on there, or our property is on there, with our boats. That as far as skiing and tubing, it just don't make sense.
All right, thank you. Also registered in opposition is Iona Sundin.
Just about everything has been said that I would say, except for safety, because our cottage is across the road, and we have 15 great-grandchildren. The 16th one is on the way, and safety is very important, and also the litter. It's going to take more than somebody coming in a couple times a week to keep that place the way it should be. And I know most people are great, but there's always that few that really, really cause problems. And so this is a concern to me. Our property is 45 feet from the edge of where this will be. I'm just on the other side of Beverly, Fraser. And we've been coming up to Pleasant Lake since 1955. So I remember all of the way it used to be. And it isn't that way anymore. But this is something that we are concerned about, and we just hope it doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you. Also to speak in opposition is Dennis Gallagher.
Dennis Gallagher, and I own property that is like 2 lots away from Johnson's property. And pretty much everything has been said all night, other than I just don't think that it's a proper place to put it, not near enough room. And also, since 1992, the lake has dropped 50 feet. There's 50 feet more shoreline. And that's where all the sand is, and so it's just down to the mud now. And so I just feel it's not a good place to put it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Also to speak in opposition, Mary Jane Gallagher.
Hi, my name is Mary Jane Gallagher. I think most everything, all of my concerns have been covered this evening also, but I just wanted to state that above, as well as the safety issues that everyone has stated this evening, I also am very concerned about the water level of the lake. I think that that seems to be maybe a priority of Pleasant Lake and Coloma. Seems to me that bringing in additional people is just going to cause more stress on the lake and more erosion and just more stress for the lake itself.
Thank you. And then finally, we have 2 people to register in opposition but not speak. Donna Larson and 296 3rd Road, and Sonia Flynn at 3428 Check Drive. And that's all the people we have registered to speak on this application.
We go on to staff comments.
My comments, first of all, on how the zoning process works applies to this application, but it also applies to the next application as well, so I don't have to repeat myself because I've been talking way too much tonight. But a zone change is a little different from the other applications you've considered tonight. In a zone change, it's a 3-step process. Tonight is the first step in the process. If the application would be approved by the Planning and Zoning Committee, that goes on to the county board, and if they approve it, it then also has to be voted on by the town board, and then the zone change would be effectuated, and that would be the end of it. If the Planning and Zoning Committee would recommend that the application be denied, they then have to report that denial as a recommendation to the full county board at their next meeting, and then the county board can accept that denial or they can reject it. If it's rejected, it has to come back to the Planning and Zoning Committee, but it would not have to go on to the town board. So a zone change is a three-part process, and tonight would be the first in that step. The one thing that was pointed out to me, the township has a recently completed town land use plan, and under the section on Chapter 10, it talks about recommendations, and it says to encourage Washira County to continue to maintain a quality county park system and provide improvements identified in the outdoor recreation plan. And in the outdoor recreation plan, it talks in several places about the need for additional park facilities on the western part of the county. One on page 35, it says the recently acquired Sorensen Natural Area helps fill a void for county open space in the west central portion of the county. However, in general, a limited range of recreational opportunities exist in this area. And then in addition, on page 36, it talks about additional swimming opportunities are needed throughout the county. And then it also says on the bottom of page 36 that the committee recognizes the present sites do not adequately serve the western portion of the county, and that acquisition of additional park acreage needs serious consideration if this problem is to be addressed. And then also on page 49, it talks about if the opportunity exists, the Planning Committee encourages Washira County and/or a local municipality to also place a high priority on addressing the long-standing shortage of swimming facilities in the county. Those documents were brought to our attention, and I shared them with you in the committee tonight. Our office did do a field visit on the property to determine if there is a buildable area for a single-family home on this property. Amy from our office did some measurements on the property yesterday, and there is no room on the property for a home. So although it's zoned single-family residential, there is no room on the property for the construction of a single-family home that would meet all the required setbacks. You know, this is obviously a contentious issue. There's obviously a need, there's obviously a desire that was shown by the advisory referendum. There's also concerns by the property owners, particularly the property owners immediately adjacent across the road, and obviously the people that use that bay. Water use conflicts exist. I will agree, I have been on Pleasant Lake a number of times on weekends, partly attending Lake District meetings over the 30-some years I've been zoning administrator. And there is a lot of use on Pleasant Lake. The initial thought when the committee looked at this property is because it's in a protected bay, it would seem to be more conducive for a swimming beach because there would be less interface with the skiing traffic because not as many people come in that bay. It obviously is going to have some effect on the adjoining properties, and that certainly is all good things that you know needs to be considered in the decision-making process here. But you know, anytime we're dealing with the public and water and riparian property owners, you know, that mix, whatever decision is made, it affects somebody. So you need to consider it, you know, carefully. I mean, I've talked to a number of members of the township, and you know, they've assured me they have a contract with the Village of Coloma that if there are problems, if this would be approved, they are in a position to respond in a timely manner to address them. It's obviously not going to answer all the concerns, but if there would be things like no parking outside of those 10 or 12 designated sites, that certainly would, you know, eliminate or at least reduce some of the safety and the parking issue, because those roads are narrow. If you put a car on each side of the road, you can barely get another car between them. And that certainly would have to be something. Hours of operation, obviously, are another thing that you know, needs to be done, and the townships indicated they do that. So, you know, there are things that can be done to limit the impacts, but for me to stand here and say it would eliminate them completely is just not true. You know, there is going to be some issues and some conflicts, but there are some things that could be done to reduce those conflicts. But, you know, hopefully the representatives from the township have, you know, made some notes about the concerns that were brought up here tonight, and they would have an opportunity at this time to have a rebuttal and perhaps answer some of the questions and address some of the concerns that were made by the riparian property and the area property owners. So,
You want to come up and rebuttal?
One concern that, I don't know where it developed, but the buoys would be out 200 feet. I don't know where that came from. Because like Jim Flynn said, his pier's out 40 feet. Now, I look at 50 to 60 feet with the approval of the DNR. 200 feet is ridiculous. And I can see why people would be concerned. That's halfway across the lake. The other concern is fence to the water line or where the DNR will tell us where to put it. Fence on either side comes down. There's nobody in that area.
So you are planning on having a fence?
There's fences there already.
Okay.
We're gonna have it.
Yeah, there's an open rail fence there now?
We're gonna have it resurveyed.
Okay.
But the buoys, per DNR, out probably 50 to 60 feet. 200 feet is outrageous. You have something?
Well, you know, the other thing is, you know, I think a lot of the concern is about the increased boating. I guess that's not our, I guess that's not our goal, is to get more boating out there. The boating, you know, that area is kind of small, but, you know, we hope that it doesn't create more boating. I guess that's more of our concern.
That's why we took the pier that was gonna be there, and we're gonna sell that. So there would not be a pier on the property.
And I guess the boat launch, there was some concern about no swimming sign on the boat launch. I guess there is a no swimming sign.
I haven't seen
I don't know if there is or not. Is there, Mark? Do you know if there's no swimming sign by the boat launch?
I don't know if I'm supposed to speak or not.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking you.
No,
I don't think
there isn't.
I don't think there is.
There isn't one there.
I don't think there is.
No, there is not.
And that is a concern, if a child wanders over into that ramp, they can get run over. But that's what they're using now.
Okay.
One comment that was made about Erickson and commission. I'm gonna, damn it if it is and damn it if it ain't. I suggested to the town board that I would give back $5,160 commission, every cent that I would earn on this. I'm earning not a penny in the way of commission to help them secure this property. Why? I'm not getting a penny for commission. I mean, why can you do that? Because there's times I do civic things, like the Village of Coloma wanted to sell some property, I sold it for them, didn't charge him $1,000 for commission, saved him $1,000. There's times I do civic things.
Keep your comments to the board here. We're the ones that we're addressing, so.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to add? Rebuttal?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on. I'll turn the meeting back over to our chairman.
Thank you, Joe. The last zone change to be heard tonight is the Town of Wautoma. Jeff Nett, Chairman, has made application for a map amendment in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-452, paragraph A, paragraph 1 of the Waushara County Zoning Code. All properties in the township of Wautoma currently zoned AG General Agricultural, 1 acre minimum, are proposed to be rezoned AG General Agricultural, 1 acre minimum, AG 5 General Agricultural, 5 acre minimum, and a AG 10 General Agricultural, 10 acre minimum, reflecting the recommendations of the Wautoma Township's adopted land use plan. Primarily, maps are available for viewing at the Waushara County Land Conservation and Zoning Office, located in Waushara County Courthouse during normal courthouse hours, and are also available online at www.co.waushara.wi.us. The applicant present?
Yes, I am.
Would you state your name for the record, please, Mr. Nett?
My name is Jeff Nett, and I'm here as the town chairman for the town of Wautoma.
Okay. Anything you can add to this, Jeff?
No, basically, several years ago, when the town adopted our comprehensive land use plan, this is what, is a result of the citizens' input. Citizens approved the land use plan, and the town board also approved it. Basically, we wanted to keep the northern half of the township with larger parcels. There was concern by town residents of getting smaller subdivisions in that area, and the town residents felt that that area would be more conducive to a larger lot size, minimum lot size. And as you got closer to the city of Wautoma, the southern half of the township, the town residents felt comfortable with a smaller lot size, minimum lot size. And in the area right around the city, we encompassed the city on the north, east, and west side. And those areas serviced by the Silver Lake Sanitary were the smaller lot size, minimum lot size. And we felt that it just made sense and the wishes of the town
To change all this.
go with that and talking with Mark, and that it was a matter of just our land use plan being updated by his land use maps and his zoning maps. So that's the reason for the request.
Does everybody understand what Jeff is talking about here? Committee questions, please?
These are the minimum parcel sizes recommended by your town land use plan, correct?
That's correct.
Your town board reviewed the draft map?
Yes, we did. I believe at the March meeting, and after that was done, I came in and asked for
You're aware this will only affect the creation of new parcels and would not affect existing parcels?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Any other questions? Joe or Mike? Bob? Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Correspondence?
We have one, no correspondence on the application.
Anyone in favor or opposition?
We have one other person registered in favor.
Joel
Jadarsky.
Would you state your name for the record, please? Okay. All right, thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Joel.
Staff comments?
Well, I've already explained the zone change process. You know, one thing I will say about this job, it's never boring. You know, we can rezone a 50-foot lot and get 100 people upset, and rezone a whole township and nobody shows up. But I guess that's just the way it goes. Yeah, but I will say that that's probably credit to the township and Joel and the Planning Commission for the fine job that they did. This is probably the 5th or 6th township that has incorporated the recommendations of their land use plan. And I received actually a few phone calls on this, but most of them were concerned about whether it was going to affect the buildability of their existing lots. And when I explained to them that it was not going to affect whether they could build on an existing lot or not. That answered their questions. And the other ones, when I explained that they'd be limited to 10 or 5 acre parcels, the unilateral response is, well, I probably wouldn't want to develop it any smaller than that anyway. So I think it is a good plan. When you look at the premise behind land use planning, residential development demands services. And the more residences you have, the more services you demand. So it makes sense to encourage more residential development closer to those services. And that's exactly, probably the town of Wautoma is a poster child for, you know, showing people that's exactly what we're doing. So the smaller lots are closer to the city, and as you move away, the lots become larger. So. And again, if this is approved, it also has to go to the county board and then obviously to the town boards, but since they're the applicant, that probably would be a moot issue. So I think it's a good plan, and obviously because nobody has any concern, it looks good to me too.
Makes total sense what
Yep.
they're doing.
Agreed.
Anything else you want to add, Jeff? Okay. Okay, that concludes the public hearing